The Executors. Now here's a freaking enigma. Welcome back to Talking Dragon Age, the show where I talk about Dragon Age. Today, we're looking into the mysterious league known as the Executors. If you haven't heard of them, I don't blame you, but even if you have, let's recap for everyone's sake. Alright, we'll start with the most significant mention of them, and that's in 2 or maybe 3 war table operations. The first is investigate the mysterious chalk markings. In reports from one of Leliana's agents, it said that a strange symbol depicting a downward pointed triangle with 2 wavy lines through it has appeared in almost all Inquisition outposts. An agent named Argent saw a similar symbol in an Orlesian noble's ledger. Josephine suggests following up on that lead, while Leliana recommends setting up a decoy outpost with the intent of catching someone in the act of drawing it. Now, very quickly, here's an example of a problem I have with many war table operations, and that is, I fail to see why I can't do both of these things. Just set up a decoy outpost and talk to the noble later. Whatever, it just annoys me. Anyway, back to the thing. If you follow Leliana's suggestion, this is the report. Posts set up along the Imperial Highway, ostensibly to guard trade routes and facilitate procuring supplies for the Inquisition. Eyes on all approaches. 4th night. A caravan carrying refugees makes camp nearby for protection. After midnight, a young woman on crutches makes small talk with a patrol guard. After he passes, she crouches and makes the mark on a tent post. The woman pretends for half an hour to know nothing. When it becomes clear that her ruse will not work, she kisses an Andrastian locket and says, "Glory to those across the seas." She dies. The locket was poison. Likewise, if you follow Josephine's suggestion, you get this. Lady Caprina reports having a wonderful tea with the Comtesse and has delivered a transcript of their conversation. The triangle? Oh, I remember it well. Drawn in my open ledger by a visiting Antiva trader from whom I wished to buy a ship. The deal immediately fell through. I assume I did not react to the triangle in the way he expected. As he left, he said to me, "Do not be so eager to ride the waves, madame. Those across the seas will come soon enough." So, according to both of these, the mysterious symbol comes on behalf of people working for those across the sea. Either way, you unlock a new operation called Unmask those across the sea. This one reads, I had our people remove the downward pointing triangular symbols from our outposts. They have not made a reappearance, which means little. It's clear that someone has an interest in the Inquisition. Someone organized, with ties to those across the sea. We've eliminated the Canari as the obvious suspects. Nonetheless, knowing who they are not does not tell us who they are, what they're doing, or why. They're clever, we know that, and they have resources. But so do we, and they should learn that they are not to toy with the Inquisition. Now, I have to wonder how they eliminated the Canari as a suspect, but whatever. I wouldn't think it was them anyway, because they already have spies, and they don't really act the way these guys do. Anyway, for this operation, Cullen suggests ignoring it completely. Why anyone would choose this option is beyond me, but here's the result. 3 outposts on the Navaran border were found abandoned with no signs of struggle and nothing destroyed or taken, but in every camp, this message. We hold your Inquisition in high esteem. Thetis' present troubles are great, but you have the strength to meet and conquer them. More will come. We prepare for that day and hold vigil. Do not look for your men, do not mourn them. They have given themselves of their own free will to a higher cause. On behalf of powers across the sea, the Executors. Alternatively, you can do the smart thing and have Leliana handle it, which leads to the result. Compliments to your spy master, she is a resourceful woman. Once she chased our agent to Cayman Brea, the match was ruled in her favor. Tell Sister Leliana to call off her dogs. Save them for Carivius. We suspect also that she has gotten all she can from Sir Helmuth. A caterpillar on a leaf does not know there is a forest about him. You will hear no more from us. Our intention was to watch, and we have seen enough. Corypheus threatens us all, and the Inquisition is Thetis' only hope for stopping him. Remember that, for the moment, we are not your enemy. As a gesture of goodwill, we share our knowledge. May it prove valuable in your coming battle. On behalf of powers across the sea, the Executors. Now, I want to talk more about all of this, but I'm going to put this on hold for a minute so I can circle back around in a little while. For now, I need to talk about Hard and Hightown. If you've read its codex entries, you'll know that the Executors play a significant role. If you haven't read it, I'll post a link in the description for you. But the important part is that the main character investigates a murder that leads him to this guy connected to the Executors that was hunting the real Blade of Hessarian on behalf of higher powers. The interesting part is that it seems like in the world of Dragon Age, the Executors are like an urban legend, like the Court of Owls, except not quite as cool. Something important is that in the book, the Executors leave their mark as a wax seal depicting 6 crossed swords. This seems to run contrary to the triangle and wavy lines. At first, I thought maybe one was for the Executors and the other was for those across the sea. Except that doesn't quite make sense because in both scenarios, it's the Executors that make the sign. Now, it's important to remember that Hard and Hightown is still a work of fiction based on an urban legend, so that could play a part in this too. Except... during Varric's War Table questline, a letter arrives at the gate at Skyhold, and no one saw who brought it. The letter reads, "You encroach upon the domain of higher powers. You will answer to us." The letter is unsigned, except for a wax seal depicting 6 crossed swords. The reason this is so interesting is that when Worthy is caught, he admits to everything he did, except sending a letter to Skyhold. Eliana's suggestion for the following quest notes how odd it is for someone to be able to enter and leave Skyhold without being noticed by anyone. If this was the Executors, what were they trying to do? But if it wasn't Worthy, then who else could it be? I honestly have no idea. This is a complete enigma, and so I'll leave it up to you guys if you want to take a shot at figuring out what the motive is here. My best guess is that maybe it's the Executors trying to tell Varric that he's too close to the urban legend. I don't know. That's really the best I can come up with. But now that I've explained all of that, we can now move on to understanding more about them. I think it's best that we use Hard and Hightown as our source of information on the urban legend Executors, while we use the War Table as evidence for the real thing. So, based on the responses from following Leliana's advice at the War Table, it appears that the Executors do not like when people notice them. Also, a recurring theme seems to be their fixation on higher powers. This could be anything, but the War Table shows us that they act on behalf of those across the sea. If not the Canary, then who? Well, we know that there are other continents over this way-ish. Throughout Inquisition, Josephine expresses curiosity as to what's beyond the Amaranthine Ocean.
There are multitudes of places I'd like to see. Saharan, the Anderfels, whatever lies past the Amaranthine Ocean. Do you ever wonder what lies at the edges of the map, past the seas?
No.
I think we have enough to worry about on this continent.
Of course, but...
I think this is a subtle hint by BioWare that they want us to be thinking about that, or that it may be important later. So let's see if there are any other hints buried away that might allude to them. For starters, the dwarves repeatedly mention that the deep roads used to span the entire continent, and maybe even further. Based on correspondence from Kal Sharrak and how different they are from Orzammar, it doesn't sound impossible that another surviving tide could act this way, but it still doesn't seem likely. However, the dwarves could still play a part in the truth. For example, maybe these guys used the deep roads to travel to and from Thetis. Hell, maybe they're even the scaled ones. It's not inconceivable, but, probably not. They just don't really match up that way. But I can still think of a few other suspects. Like maybe another surviving group of ancient elves. I don't recall much mention of them expanding past the continent, but I think it's possible. But there is a significant lack of information that alludes to that. Actually, it seems like there's a significant lack of information as a whole as to what's beyond Thetis. But that's probably the point, in all honesty. Like, they want us thinking about it, but they don't want to give us the answers. I respect this, even if it does give me a headache. Anyway, the last suspects I want to bring up are the Casa. Now, I want to make a whole video on the Casa and how they relate to the Canary, so I won't go too in-depth here, but they really seem to be the most likely suspect to me. In fact, I didn't even realize that until I started making this video. So, here are some things to consider about them. We know that they're across the sea in the northeast-ish direction. Also, it's theorized that the Kazeth are a group of races, not just one. I can't really talk about that right now, though. More importantly, we know that they know about Thetis, because some of their explorers landed here around the time of the First Blight. They're really the only ones that we know for sure are across the seas. Like I said, I'm working on a whole video for them in the Canary now, and so that will probably be up in a little while. But until then, I can't really think of anyone else that fits this puzzle. If you guys have any of your own ideas, feel free to let me know. Maybe I'll have a short addendum episode if any new information comes to light. Until then, I guess this is the end. So to recap, Dragon Age. Before I sign off here, if any of you are also fans of Mass Effect, I'm going to be doing a live stream on Twitch for the whole trilogy, beginning to end. I'll post another video for more details soon, so be on the lookout for that. So I guess that's it for now, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, Tala Nadas.